I think entrepreneurship is one of the coolest things in the world. I think it's also one of the hardest things in the world. I'm going to be the person who cares more about your success and your fulfillment than I do your feelings. It doesn't mean that I don't care about your feelings. I'm not going to prioritize them. I want to help you reach your potential. If you're out there watching or listening to this and you really do want great results in life and your goal is to relax, you're in trouble. Because all the great things in life that are meaningful are on the other side of hard work. You're gonna have to learn this one way or another. You gotta work on self-discipline, and you have to work on.
Welcome to Entrepreneur in Action, and today's guest is Alan Lazaros. You're the CEO of Next Level University, and you're a business coach. Alan, welcome. I'm excited to learn more about you, and let's hear about your business.
Thank you for having me. I think entrepreneurship is one of the coolest things in the world. I think it's also one of the hardest things in the world, if not the hardest thing in the world. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about your business now.
Okay, business now. Right now, I'm a numbers guy. Computer engineering is my thing, so forgive me. It's all going to be numbers. So we have currently 18-person team, which is awesome. We are coming up on 1,900 episodes of the Next Level University podcast, which has been wild. The average length, yeah, thank you. The average length for us is a half hour. A lot of people, when they hear that big number, they figure micro content, but it's not. I currently work with 61 podcasters, which is wild, directly and indirectly. We produce over 30 shows. Kevin coaches a bunch of podcasters, and then we have a group coaching program actually with 11 podcasters in it, which is really cool. We've been doing that for 4 years, but this is the first group with all podcasters. And then the work that I do right now that I'm specifically focused on is I have 26 current clients on my current roster of individuals from all over the world that are trying to align their passion into purpose, into profit in their business. So I have business coaching as my main thing. And so high level up yourself, level up your podcast, level up your business. But in the dirt of it, in the day-to-day with real people in the real world type of thing, it's an online business where I'm personally focused on helping people improve themselves holistically and really align what fulfills them internally with what actually can bring external success. Because a lot of times the work that we do in the world that is profitable is not super meaningful. And so it's very hard to align those two. A lot of times you have to build a real brand and a real business in order to do that.
Oh, I'm your new client, Alan, and I'm coming to you, and I'm having a lot of problems aligning my value system, my meaning, what moves me as a person with what's profitable. How do we start?
Okay. So the first thing that we do to start, I have this huge assessment that I do, but to keep this as simple as humanly possible, but as practical, but also powerful. So I would start with goals. Then I would bring it to metrics that we need to track in order to achieve those goals. Then I would bring it to habits, which is what are you doing day to day. Then I would bring it to skills, the skills that you need to actually achieve the goals. And then the last piece, and this is the really deep one, is the identity. You know, what you believe about yourself and mindset, the inner work part. So the metrics, habits, and goals and skills, I think are fairly, I don't want to say easy. I think that's what's holding a lot of people back is they just are drifting around. They don't really know where they're headed, and their goals are not often aligned with who they really are. And that's the identity piece. So the hardest work for me, I always say this. I say anyone can teach you how to lose weight. Almost no one can get you to actually do it. And so that's what I say to my clients, and this is a disclaimer that I say to every single client. I have it written on my whiteboard right over here. I say, I'm going to be the person who cares more about your success and your fulfillment than I do your feelings. And I say that it doesn't mean that I don't care about your feelings. I'm not going to prioritize them. I say this. I say, I want to help you reach your potential, and I want to push you outside your comfort zone, and I want to push you towards your potential, but I do not want to push you out of integrity. And so I've been very upfront with that these days because over the years, I mentored for 10 years. I've been coaching for the last 8. So the first 2 years was for free. And then after that, it was awesome. But ultimately, what my main thing is no one really cares that much about whether or not you build a huge business. Your friends and family don't really care. They love you for you, and that's great. I am going to care about your success and your fulfillment more than your feelings. And the truth is, a lot of us don't achieve our goals because we don't have people in our corner that are willing to tell us the hard truth. And so while I realize that if someone has low humility and is very entitled and arrogant, they definitely don't hear hard truth. So I don't work with people like that. So the very last piece of this is, if you're my client, it means you're humble, you have work ethic, you have grit, and you want to earn every piece of success and fulfillment that you get in this life. And I always say this, I say, if you are not humble, if you're entitled and ungrateful, and you want maximum rewards for minimal effort, you're just going to absolutely hate me.
How do you weed those people out? How do you find these are the people with low humility? These are the entitled people. They won't hear the hard truths. How do you find them and weed them out?
Well, the first thing to understand is all of us struggle. So none of us are perfect. So no one has level 10 humility. No one's fully humble, including myself for sure. I'm definitely more humble than I used to be as I've matured. But I have a filter that I call Unmedzai, UNMEDSAI, and this took me 35 years to create. And really, I created it through massive pain and failure because for me, we have an 18-person team now, but with the podcast, we started out very naive, like all entrepreneurs do. And we were trying to help everyone. And we kind of martyred ourselves in hindsight a little bit. And we allowed people to take advantage of our kindness and that kind of thing. And I think some of that was rooted in, wanting to belong and wanting to be liked and all that kind of stuff that we all deal with. So I'll be honest about all that. But what I've come to realize is that building a team, if they do not align with your core values, you're in a lot of trouble. And one of the core values, so the 3 core values of NLU is a growth mindset. You have to be impact driven and you have to be humble. And that third one is by far the most important. So for me, this is how I root out people that are not humble. And a lot of people think I'm not humble. And I figured out why, actually. If you have level 10 self-belief and you only have level 8 humility, you'll come off as level 2 arrogant. And I now realize I always had more belief than I did humility. I still do. It's really not close, honestly. But that said, this is the filter. So Unmedzai, unstable, naive, manipulative, entitled, delusional, significance driven. That's the sneaky one. Anyone who has like a birthday month or a birthday week, it's just all about them. It's like, listen, there's an expiration date on your immaturity. It's time to grow up. Okay, the world doesn't revolve around you. And then arrogant. And then the last one is immature. So Unmedzai, unstable, naive, manipulative, entitled, delusional, significance driven, arrogant, and immature. And so there are people always ask, well, how do you know who is those things? It's like in poker, there are people, there are certain tells. You have to start practicing to learn. So for example, when I first got on here, you had smiles and gratitude. If you didn't, and you were pissed that I was 1 minute late, that's entitlement. Right. So, and also the fact that you had mentioned this, you had said Kevin had been on this show and he did 3 hours with you. That tells me Kevin can't stand arrogant people. He can't stand them. So that tells me you must be great, because Kevin would never have done a 3-hour interview with someone who had a high Unmedzai score. And so I score this, but I've gotten to the point now, because I've been practicing this for 6 or 7 months now, where I can kind of tell almost right away whether or not someone's going to secretly hate me and pretend to like me. And it's just going to cause this whole thing. And so what I did realize is, honestly, people with low humility and who are entitled and who want big rewards for minimal effort, they don't get along with me very well because I'm kind of, I'm what people call a try hard. I haven't taken a day off in 10 years, that kind of thing. So to me, I don't believe in big effort, big rewards for minimal effort. I think that's really quite dumb, personally. Yeah.
It's interesting because we live in a society where that is getting stimulated through like our devices, right? The apps, the games, right? You pick up your phone and you get messages, right? All you did was pick up the phone, or messages just come to you. And for some people, there might be this fallacy that this is easy. Maybe, for example, they're like a young woman who, they're in their 20s and they just happen to be in the prime of their life. So they get a ton of attention online on social media, and it is low effort. And they also need to make it look more effort to fit in with the others who are also doing it for low effort. Oh, I just woke up, I took a picture. Oh my gosh, 7,000 likes, right? And and this is very common amongst certain people. So
Hmm.
so you could see how our modern world could promote this kind of thing. Like, how do people protect themselves against this thing? Because I agree, you're right. They become uncoachable, right? What you're
Yep.
telling me is the people that you can't get along with as a coach, where you're trying to help them. Like, it's coming from a place of heart, right? You're really trying to help them, as you expressed, right? You care about their success, and they're paying you to do it even more than their feelings, so that you can, move the needle forward for them. So how can people protect themselves against this? Because this seems like a dangerous thing.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question because I do think that that's happening quite a bit. And again, I'll talk a little bit high level here. And some of this takes a lot of courage to share because I think people know it, but it's uncomfortable to talk about. So if you look at the statistics, the US in particular has the largest economy by a significant margin. It's not close. The next closest is China, and it's really not close. Now, why am I saying that? So I look like an entitled American. I was born in Massachusetts. I'm obviously a white Caucasian male, and I have these awards behind me, and I look like someone who was born on third base, a silver spooner. I look like someone who, but the truth of the matter is my father passed away when I was 2 years old. I had a stepfather from 3 to 14. He left at 14, took his entire extended family with him, and we were, I got free lunch at school because we were so broke, and I had to bootstrap through high school to get scholarships to go to college and all that kind of stuff. Now, and that was the tip of the iceberg. I mean, honestly, in many regards, my childhood was atrocious, and some of it was good, but most of it was pretty hard. It was pretty terrible. Now, that said, why am I saying all that? If my childhood wasn't so challenging and so hard and had so much adversity, I might. I remember times when I was more spoiled. Before my stepdad left, he worked for a company called AGFA, and they did hospital computers during the .com bubble. So we had a yacht. I mean, we literally boats and ski trips, and when he left, we went from that to how are we even going to keep the house and the family type of thing. So it built a lot of character, and it humbled me. And there was my mom and stepdad didn't get along at all, and that's a polite way to put it on a public medium. So there was challenges family wise, way beyond what I just articulated. But as an American who lives in a country that had so much abundance, particularly in the 90s and early 2000s, you can sense an entitlement in the people. And that's happening globally too. It's not just the US. Obviously, anyone who has, an iPhone in their pocket, and I've got two computers in front of me, I've got a great internet connection, I mean, our grandparents, generations prior, even the wealthiest, didn't have some of the things that we have today. So technology, my car drives itself. Like, how do you not get entitled when you don't have to drive your own freaking car anymore? It's supervisor mode. It's a Model Y Tesla, and I have to be in the seat, but it pretty much drives itself and just makes sure I'm not on my phone, I guess. But I'm sitting there eating my bacon, egg, and cheese bagel yesterday, heading for my 5-year anniversary. We hiked a mountain in New Hampshire called Mount Monadnock, and it was awesome. But the Tesla's amazing, and it's got a full screen. I've got a project, like I've got a home theater, and we have this beautiful home, and I'm so grateful, and I've worked my butt off for that. However, I never lose sight of the fact that there's a difference between real problems and fake problems. So let me give you an example of a fake problem. When we first got the Model Y and it did supervisor mode really well, uh, we used the self driving, and then they took it away, and they had to go back and do beta tests and make sure it was good, and then they brought it back, and I was so upset. And I remember thinking to myself, this isn't a real problem. Like, literally 3 months ago, I used to have to drive myself, and now I'm so upset that they took it. So entitlement's going to happen when you experience a lot of abundance, and this is actually kind of automatic if you're not conscious of it. So I read a book I've read this book 150 times. I'm not even kidding. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's a very famous book. And I listen to it before bed all the time because it's a perspective reset. I also have certain go-to movies that for me are a perspective reset. So for me, I've got The Last Samurai, Hotel Rwanda. There's certain movies that Slumdog Millionaire is a good one. These movies remind you of how good you have it. And to the pretty girl, hot girl problem that you mentioned earlier, I get it. I do. I knew some people that developed young. They looked gorgeous. My girlfriend was beautiful, and she is not entitled at all. That's my favorite part about her because I used to date women who had this weird and this isn't against women, by the way. I adore women. Please understand this. But anyone who's spoiled on any level, I never got along with very well. And it's only obvious in hindsight. I'm 36 in November, and I didn't meet Emilia until my 30s, until 29 actually, October of 29, 5 years ago. But before that, I dated some women that were really attractive, and they didn't understand. Particularly one of them. Their father did very, very well. He inherited $10 million, and he was home, and they had boats and ski trips and all that stuff. And she never really had to work very hard for much of anything. And I'm an entrepreneur who was in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey fighting for every dollar. And we just butt heads all the time. In hindsight, that was never going to work. And really underneath it, it's a core value in conflict. And so rather than blame her or anything like that, what I would say that I do believe is the cure to your question is virtue. Virtue is humility. Virtue is compassion. Virtue is hard work. Virtue is grit, resilience. Virtue is doing all you can with all you have. Virtue is, work ethic, generosity. These things that are at the core of our being that all of us do admire. But yet, when we are on our growth journey, we lose ourselves. And then we have to re-find ourselves. And so I got in a car accident at 26. My dad died in a car. So for me, it really shook me. I think we'll probably get into that. And after that, I lost all of my entitlement. I did. I faced mortality and I said, okay, listen, you're not happy. You're not fulfilled. You're super successful and you have tons of status because you're a computer engineer and a master's in business and you make tons of money. And I was a 1% earner in my early 20s globally. In the US, I wasn't, but in global 1% earner. And so you kind of realize, you know what, that was unfulfilling. And the only way to really be fulfilled is who you are and what you are when no one's watching. And to me, that comes down to virtue. And the people that are pretending they're happy on their boats and ski trips, I'm telling you right now, they're not living as meaningful of a life as, and this is the last piece, I'll say this. I always started saying this recently. I've said this probably 50 times in the last 6 months. The people who are growing and grinding toward their goals and dreams will always be the envy of the people sitting around feeling sorry for themselves. So just don't be the person. Like if you're out there doing it, trying and failing even, that's better. You already are living the dream on some level because no one just wants to win the lottery and then drink tequila on the beach. It's not a meaningful life, despite what people do. They romanticize carefree wandering, and I do. I think it's a lie.
So that's totally, I love this answer that you've given because you speak to, the people who do seem entitled, right? They have the boat. They have all the entrapments of what seems like an amazing life, but you can see in their hearts they're not. They're not happy. They're not living the life of their dreams. And so they envy the people who struggle, which I think is very interesting to hear because that really resonates with something I think that I've felt from my entire life, which was that it is a privilege to struggle. Don't know why I made that agreement with myself, at the young age, or I don't know. Do you agree? Do you believe in this thing? I've heard something where people say they make agreements before they're even born, like with their parents, and they're like, we're going to be poor and I'm going to struggle. And then I get to have this thing. And like before you're like a baby, you have this agreement with your parents, and you're all just, no matter what happens with your parents, right? That's what you agreed to. So like the baby you would be, I don't know, this sounds really bizarre if you haven't thought of this before, but the baby you would have made the agreement with your dad. This is what's happening. And with your mom and your stepdad. These are all the things that are happening in life, and we're all agreeing to it, and then you play it out. Like it's almost like a play that you write before you're born, and then you play it out. What do you think about this stuff?
So I think we are all born with an essence, with a nature, with a natural inclination. And I do believe we all have some sort of purpose or calling or mission, whatever you want to frame it as. And I am pulled more than I have to push, but I still have to push. I always say I have to push myself to stay in the pull. So, for example, I got on this interview, you hit record, and I said, are we on for 2 hours? Is this going to be a 2-hour interview? And you were like, yeah, man. Kevin and I did 3. And I was like, okay, it's game time. Let's do it. Why? Within a couple seconds, okay, the title of the podcast, boom, aligned. Him, aligned. Kevin did 3 hours, aligned. Okay, on Medzai, probably low, good. Seam, humility, gratitude, awesome. Okay, done, let's go. But here's the thing. I think that when we are outside of alignment with our essence, with our natural inclinations, I think that we are unfulfilled. I think fulfillment and regret are the best teachers on planet Earth. Regret is your highest self saying, yo, Alan, cut the S, man. You are off the path and you know it. And it's time to do something about that. But most people avoid feeling it so they don't have to change, or they're scared or whatever. Okay. The other one is fulfillment. Fulfillment means, hey, Alan, great work. You did it. You had courage. You stood up to that person. You spoke up for what you believe in. It's uncomfortable as hell, but you're on the path. What's the path, right? The path is doing all you can with all you have. My potential is different than your potential. And if you think we are all born equal, go play basketball with LeBron James. It's just not true. You need to understand that. And this is one thing I need to make as clear as possible. I used to be too scared to share this. I was born with gifts that not everyone has. I was the guy who could party all night, not go to calc class, and still get straight A's on the tests. Like, I was born very intelligent, particularly science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, and finance. That's my genius zone, if you want to call it that. And so as someone who is gifted and who always has felt gifted, Kevin says this. He says, you are afraid that all of you is not enough, or you are afraid that all of you is too much. I was the second one. Okay. I'm not afraid that I'm not going to be able to build a business. I'm not afraid I'm not going to be able to figure it out. I'm not afraid that I don't know how to do it. I don't feel that at all. External achievement has always come very naturally to me. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't hard. It doesn't mean I don't put in a lot of work. It doesn't mean that I don't struggle at times. But for me, socially was the problem. Engineers don't know how to talk to humans. It's when a girl says, hey, do I look fat in this? And you say yes at level 6 out of 10, that doesn't go very well. So you basically have to exile this very true part of you that actually is that candid. And I'm not trying to be mean. Like, you just don't look good in that. And by the way, same with me. Like, I'm that honest inside myself with myself. Right? If you have a self-driving car that doesn't have accurate data, it's going to keep driving you off a cliff and then blaming the world, right? So to me, most people think very irrationally and they aren't very candid with themselves. They aren't very truthful. And Kev says, well, what if you're just really irrational and really truthful? It's not that everyone else is. Because when I was a kid, I remember thinking, like, it seems like everyone's kind of unintelligent and fairly lazy. He's like, no, you're hyper intelligent and very hardworking. Got it. But I don't want to walk around thinking that, because truth be told, I want to be harder working. I want to be smarter. So I can't walk around thinking I'm brilliant all the time. Like, there's so much more to learn. So it's a weird duality. But to answer your original question, which I've totally forgotten at this stage. What was the original question? My bad.
So
the essence. Yeah. Okay. So to get back to that, you have an essence and you have a true potential and you have a true self. and you have a very unique calling that I don't. And my job is to help people unlock that calling and then build a business and a brand and a product and service around that. And that's what I'm doing too. So I have it here. You are here to reach your own unique potential and to help others do the same. Everything else is secondary. And so visioneering, engineering your vision, reverse engineering it, goals, metrics, habits, skills, identity, and then engineering a human being. I don't know how to fix a car, but I can help you fix your life. And I really mean that. Like I've been studying human beings my entire life, even before I knew I was doing that. And it's definitely my gift. And I think that the one true essence of me is potential. Do legacy is the impact far beyond your own life. Legacy is my number one core value, but ultimately it's reaching your own unique potential. That's what I'm about. And if you don't really want to reach your own unique potential, I'll just be a pain in the butt, basically, is what I've figured out.
Yeah, to me, I love that that's your goal, right? I love that that's what you value, helping. I mean, working on it for yourself to reach your own true potential, and then helping others to reach their own true potential, which is a wonderful calling, and it is a wonderful thing to be gifted at. How did you know that that was your gift and your calling?
That's a great question. You're always drawn to it. You're always drawn to it. So whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing in the world, you're always drawn to it. Now, it doesn't mean you always want to do it, but it means you miss it when you're not doing it. So when I was young, I just really loved getting good at stuff. I loved it. Video games, snowboarding, basketball. I was the one up at night, forcing myself to not leave the court under the floodlight until 2 a.m. because I needed to make 10 baskets in a row. And sometimes it took that long because I wasn't doing layups. I just love getting better at things. I love improving. And I realize this too, and this is actually quite alarming. I actually love improving more than almost anyone I've ever met. There's only one human being that I've met. Sounds so freaking arrogant. Whatever. Courage. Okay. Emilia Smith, my beautiful girlfriend, she is the most improvement-oriented person you've ever met in your entire life. It's unbelievable. And I realized one of the reasons why I didn't work with past partners, my therapist, Carol, she said, Alan, you're not going to feel a strong sense of belonging when you're on the statistical high end of everything. Like if you're in the 0.005% of intelligences, there's this book called Multiple Intelligences, you're not going to feel very belonging. And one of the things that I think is really alarming and very hard is some people really aren't normal. So they are lonely. Just by definition, like if you're a statistical anomaly, like I've never been relatable. I've pretended to be, and when I drank alcohol, I was super relatable, but basically I was dialing down my essence. So wherever you're the greatest, you are statistically rare, and therefore you feel like you don't belong. And that's the thing you're most scared of. Or you're statistically really not that great, and you're actually scared of that too. So you spend your life trying to make sure no one finds out. And that's a lot of people. But if you look at a bell curve of any population, in athletics, LeBron James is a good example. He just is a freak athlete. Now, he also works really hard too, but no matter how hard I work at basketball, it's never going to happen at that level. And same with him being a computer engineer. I'm sure no matter how hard he worked, it would never be close. And that's nothing against him. It's just the uniqueness that we each share. So to answer your original question, I knew because I was always drawn to it. I was always like, if I wasn't doing this podcast right now and I was just hanging out, I would be frustrated wanting to figure out what to work on. I would work on my physical health, or I would do mobility, or I would read a new book. One of the things that bothers me all the time is I think a lot of books are garbage, and it's very hard for me to find a great book. So when I find a great book, it's just like I eat it. I eat it up. I'd be working on that next level, pun intended. That I'd be working on my relationship. I don't want to hang out. A lot of people actually love hanging out. Now, don't get me wrong. I need R&R too, and I watched a whole movie last night. Emilia got me this awesome anniversary gift. It's a projector. It's the coolest freaking thing ever. And we watched The Legend of Tarzan. I thought it was awesome. It was kind of playful and kind of corny, but it was awesome. And the dude's physique is insane. So it was inspiring. That said, I R&R to be more productive. Most people's goal is R&R. And I do want to make this as clear as possible. If you're out there watching or listening to this and you really do want great results in life, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, wealth, health, love, and your goal is to relax, you're in trouble. Because all the great things in life that are meaningful are on the other side of hard work. And anyone who tells you otherwise, I'm telling you, whether you learn this at 20, 30, 50, it's crap. Unless you spend your whole life trying to build status and perception and trying to hoodwink your way to the top, which, by the way, is not meaningful and not fulfilling, you're going to have to learn this one way or another. You got to work on self-discipline, and you have to work on work ethic. I was coaching someone recently. She's the sweetest person ever. I'm such a huge fan. But her self-discipline is freaking zero. And it makes me so sad. And she said, what do you think I should do for the... It's like, honestly, I can give you every answer. It's not going to matter unless you build this one thing. If you don't have self-discipline to exercise consistently, to do mobility when you don't want to focus for 30 minutes at a time, at least, right? At least, you're never going to feel good about yourself. Feeling good about yourself is a byproduct of keeping promises to yourself. Keeping promises to yourself is a byproduct of having goals that are meaningful. No one just wanders around pumped or happy. Most people are socially pretending to be happy when behind the scenes they're actually very unhappy. And there's some people who are the opposite. Some people don't like being around social people, and actually behind the scenes they're deeply fulfilled. And I used to be someone who was pretending to be happy socially when behind the scenes I wasn't very happy. And now I'm deeply fulfilled, and it takes a lot of courage to actually be that fulfilled around other people, because it's very triggering.
How do you help that client who has zero ability to self-discipline, to give themselves a time-boxed exercise time, mobility time, focus on their work? How do you work with them?
Sometimes people will do more for you than they'll do for themselves. So there's certain little tricks that work really well. I have something called a commitment device where I take my client and I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. So we set up your metrics and habits, and start small, by the way. Start super small. People have this idealized version of themselves, particularly socially. That's why our Instagrams look better than our real life, right? But if you build your metrics and habits on that idealized version, you're going to fail forever and then just get stuck in shame. It takes humility to start super small. So if 20 minutes of mobility a day isn't working, drop it to 10. You know how many I did mobility earlier? I think I did 10 minutes. For the longest time, I had 20 minutes on my tracker. I could not freaking do it because I have this thing called ROMWAD. It's this playlist that's freaking perfect for mindfulness and long form stretching. And it's a 7-day program. And I did it for a while, and it was the best thing ever. And I just freaking can't seem to do it. Now, granted, I work Monday through Saturday. I work every day, but Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. is front facing right now. And I'm definitely spread thin. So again, excuse. So I did 10 minutes earlier. I didn't do a whole ROMWAD session. I did my own mobility while listening to a book. So the first step is you have to have enough humility to say, okay, I kind of suck. So I'm going to start so small it's embarrassing. I'm going to start so small that it's embarrassing. That's why New Year's resolutions don't work. No, it's not awesome to be like, oh, I'm going to do 10 minutes of mobility this week. No one's going to be pumped for that. I'm going to do a marathon in 2025, and I'm going to exercise 5 days a week, every day, 3 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. And then no one achieves them. No one sticks with it. Why? Because it's unsustainable. Because it's built on an idealized version that doesn't exist. And that's what social media is. It's like the idealized version of everything. Even this business stuff. Okay, I have a $500,000 per year business coming up in 2025. Awesome. But we have to spend $400K to keep that going. But no one knows the second part. Right? You don't just like make millions of dollars. You have to spend millions of dollars to make millions of dollars. It's a snowball, right? There's gross revenue, and then there's expenses, and then there's profitability. And what I don't think people fully, it's like, okay, beautiful home. Everyone takes a picture in front of it. Okay, great. But what about the mortgage payment? So what, they're not taking pictures of their fucking behind mortgage payments. I'm so sorry for swearing if I'm not supposed to be swearing. It's my bad. Is this explicit?
No, it's fine. Go for
Okay,
it.
that was the first one that slipped. My bad. I get passionate. Okay, so if you want to start small, that's the first step, is check in with your humility. Do not idealize. Do not try to set the world on fire. You have to start super freaking small. Number two, you will do more for others than you will for yourself. If you have a gym partner and they're counting on you and they're sitting there waiting for you, you will show up. I know a lot of heart-driven, wonderful human beings who are martyrs. They do more for others than they will for themselves, usually because they grew up with a narcissistic, overly dominant, excessive caregiver. Okay? And they basically did everything they could to make sure that person was okay out of survival, and then they took that into adulthood. And yes, I'm speaking from experience as well. So you'll do more for others than you will for yourself. So you have to put yourself on the line. You have to say, hey, does anyone want to go for a run with me? We're going to start the day off 8 a.m. We're going to do a 20-minute run per day. Really small. I'll meet you at the park. Boom. You're not going to miss when someone's waiting on you. I was 15 minutes late to a call earlier, and I emailed them. I said, I'm so sorry. My bad. Monday anniversary, blah, blah, blah. If you want to reschedule, I totally get it. They said, no, I'll wait. They waited 15 minutes. I was so freaking grateful. But the point is I wasn't about to let them down. So yes, you'll do it for you, and you have to do it for you behind the scenes. And if you don't do it for you, you won't actually build self-discipline. However, if you're really struggling with self-discipline, get in groups, do run clubs, go to yoga classes, get a personal trainer, get a coach, get a therapist. These people will help you stay consistent. I was on with a client earlier. His name's Chris, and I guarantee you, I mean, I'm his business coach. He is going to work harder today because I was on the phone with him. And he showed up to the call, and he never misses, even though half the time I can tell he kind of doesn't want to be there. It is what it is. So you got to create the structures and systems and people. Kevin would tell you this honestly. I drive him. Like, he's trying to keep up with me. And he is way more disciplined out of the guilt of being a business partner, and he doesn't want to let the team down. So it's like a snow dog, right? You only need one really, really strong dog leading the charge. The other dogs are fighting to keep up. And that's okay because they don't want to bring down the team. No one wants to bring down the team. So the key is get on a team that's going places, and that will motivate and drive you far more than being by yourself.
Isn't that what a marriage is? Isn't that your like ultimate team? Like you went in front of all your friends and you said, with this ring, right? We're together forever. We are connected through these two rings, you know? Like that's a team that we make outside of the business, but you have kind of like a business version of that, right? You have a partner, a business partner that you guys have worked together for many years, I think. How did that
7.
happen? That you guys met each other and knew that this was the right one for you to partner with for all these years?
I appreciate you, man. This is good. This is good stuff. Great questions. Duality's big. Gotta share it. It's an and, not an or. I did know and I didn't. So some of it was intuitive, so I can't really give a good answer for that. And in hindsight, it's much clearer. But at the time, I didn't know this. Okay, so Kevin and I, March, the Hyperconscious podcast. I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives podcast. He was my first guest. He had a podcast called the Hyperconscious podcast, which was change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. If you look up hyperconscious in the dictionary on Google, it'll say deeper understanding, acutely aware. Hyperconscious means acutely aware. And so it was a couple bodybuilder bros. Those are my fitness modeling days, talking deep conversations about belief systems and what drives you and who you are and that kind of thing. Personal development. I was his first guest. He was my first guest. We teamed up, had the worst named podcast of all time. It was the Hyperconscious podcast meets Conversations Change Labs podcast. And then we went all in on the Hyperconscious podcast. And then we rebranded to Next Level University, I think around episode 600 something. And get your brand right first, because if you don't, you will lose massive momentum. We lost some serious momentum after that, but we regained it, I think. I think it was still a good move. That said, I didn't know that this would work forever, but I did intuitively sense that we worked really well together. And in hindsight, I can tell you why my intuition said that. He grew up without a father, so he didn't meet his father till he was 27 years old. He also grew up in very humble beginnings, and I'm not going to air out his stuff here, but not any level of silver spoon whatsoever. I mean, just I'll leave it there. And so I actually told him once, we used to have an in-person studio. This was a couple of years ago, and we would always commute to the studio. And I moved in with Emilia, and we now do virtual. But we were cleaning out the studio, which was a whole thing because we were in there for a couple of years. And I remember telling him we were just walking to the dumpster with a bunch of stuff. And I said, if you were entitled at all, this never would have worked. Kev is willing to grind forever for everything he gets. He has a lot of grit. A lot of grit. I'm talking a ridiculous amount of work ethic and grit. He wasn't born naturally gifted, smart. He didn't have great mentors. Like no one in his entire extended family ever went to college, very humble beginnings. And he just has so much freaking grit. So that's one of the main reasons we work. The other main reason is we both had a common core wound, and we didn't know this, but unconsciously we would spend every Father's Day together. Because Father's Day is a traditionally very sad day for him and I. And so we would naturally hang out because everyone else was with their fathers. And now we have a charity called Next Level Hope Foundation. And every Father's Day, we rent out a YMCA and we play basketball for kids of single parents. We get everybody together. We play sports. It's awesome. But back then, it was just him and I fishing, hanging out, whatever. And so the common core wound is low self-worth and not having a male role model. He was raised by his mom and his Mima, and I was raised by my mom and my older sister. We both are men, but we don't have whatever that man being raised by a man thing is. I don't even know how to explain this. Other than women, most of our listeners are women, and they can tell. We're the way they describe it is we're a very non-predatory energy. That's the way they've said it, not mine, right? And I think we are pretty low in toxic masculinity. I definitely think you need to work hard, and I'll just say that to you. But I would say, if anything, we're not toxic masculine, I don't think. And there's a lot of toxic masculinity out there. Holy crap. Just men with unresolved stuff. I always say men can't even ask for directions, never mind get a therapist, right? So I didn't get my therapist till I was 30. So guilty as charged. But anyways, so those are all things that were beneath the hood that are obvious in hindsight, but really what it comes down to is he was afraid that he wouldn't succeed without me. I had abandonment issues. Lost my stepdad and I kind of lost 3 families by the time I'm 14. My real last name is McCorkle. We don't have to get into that whole story, and if you want to, we can. And we reconnected with my birth father's side after my stepdad left, but we kind of got ostracized from my mom's side after my mom got in a fight with my Aunt Sandy. And so when I was 14 years old, I kind of lost 3 families. And that, I became this weird sort of super achiever, prove myself guy who was so afraid of abandonment. And again, this is only obvious in hindsight. So I think the low self-worth, the fear of abandonment from me, him being afraid he wouldn't be successful without someone like me, we just work. And then as we matured, he would mature, and then that would be a mirror for me. And then I would mature, and that would be a mirror for him. And we just learned and grew, and we both do have this one thing, and I don't know where the hell this comes from. I think it comes from being so disappointed in men, particularly our fathers. We have this thing where we have to be better men. We can't be a character over everything. We used to say this for years. Character over everything. Character over everything. We went broke when we were saying that, by the way, because obviously character over profitability. And I told you about the martyrdom and all that stuff. So in the beginning, it was help everyone, kind of naive, character over everything. Profitability will come eventually if we put enough value into the world, which is not true, by the way. But character over everything has stayed. He and I, if I ever said anything toxic when he was in a relationship and I was single or vice versa, we would call each other out and we would hold each other accountable. And still to this day, he'll say, "You're a better man than I am." And while I understand why he says that on the virtue side, I think that he's been a good mirror for me in the past that really helped me understand some of the toxic stuff that I still needed to get rid of from the place I grew up. Michael, are you there?
Hey,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
And I don't know, my internet went out.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I
Okay,
apologize. That's never happened before. It completely went out. When did you lose me?
so I was here. You're talking about character over everything, and you both have a thing where you're disappointed in men because you had the abandonment,
Yep.
right? So you felt abandonment issues because multiple fathers left. He felt abandonment issues because he never had a father, and that you felt like you had to have better character and be better than what you saw as a child,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. Do you want
you
me to
would
start
call each
there?
other out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to start there?
yeah.
We're good? Okay. So with Kevin and I think of a lot of times a infinity symbol. And I think about this with all relationships. So Emilia and I coaching couples now, which is wild to say, for 4 years. We started doing this little thing called relationship talks coaching. We started out as just relationship talks, and every single Saturday we were so in love and so grateful that would basically just have community members come on and talk relationships, talk about their struggles, talk about their communication challenges, trust, all this kind of stuff. And then eventually we created a company called The We, which is the me plus the me equals the we, and how to build your dreams together, essentially, is what it's become. But my point of that is the infinity symbol is what I see between relationships. And so with Kevin and I, humility, courage, and vulnerability, picture A at the center, a triangle on the left, humility, courage, vulnerability, and then K, humility, courage, vulnerability, triangle. And as long as I'm humble, courageous, and vulnerable with him, he'll be humble, courageous, and vulnerable with me. And then we can help each other become better men. And so the synopsis of all of it, because I know we had some Wi-Fi challenges there, is Kevin and I both had a common core wound. We both struggled with self-worth, having not had fathers. We both agree that we didn't have male role models that really inspired us growing up. And so in many ways we wanted to become the male role models we never had, unconsciously at first, and eventually that became clear. And then now we help each other do that. And that's still at the core of who we are. That's at the core of the company we built, really. Is Next Level University is next level you, pun intended. So I'm going to be 36 in November, so I'll be Alan version 3.6. And Alan version 3.6 will be smarter, stronger, better, more virtuous than Alan version 3.5. And that's been true year after year. Except for in fitness, I've really apparently let it go, which is not good.
That's awesome. I love Allen version 3.6 is better than Allen version 3.5 because we're always learning, right? And we're always growing in all these ways. And like you said, sometimes we pick up one part and put down one part. Like in this podcast, we focus on the four F's: finance, fitness, family, and fun. So
Nice.
I think that's a natural segue. Let's go into that a little bit with your fitness. What happened that you dropped your fitness down a little bit in what's important to you?
Emilia and I, when we on our anniversary, I have this folder called Emilia Hart Best Memories, and I started creating it from the moment I met her. I just started saving all my favorite photos and my favorite audio messages. We called them personal podcasts. We used to send each other audio messages before we lived together, and all the different photos and videos. And she used to send me videos all the time. It was very cute. And so every anniversary, we watch them. We go through, we do a slideshow, and we did that, and it was wild to see how much we've grown. 5 years, grown so much. And both of us think, whoa, we were so naive. Anyways, in comparison, I don't think statistically for our age we were naive. That said, I was jacked, man. Fitness model, I was a fitness coach, and I was a fitness competitor. I did 3 fitness shows. I lost my first one, won my second one, lost my third one. I came in cocky, lost, got humbled, stomped everybody when I came in humble. And then that's the lesson with that, by the way, is anytime you get cocky, you're going to lose eventually. One sec. But ultimately, the fitness piece, Emilia, it was hard for me because when you look back, so much growth. And she looks infinitely better now, physically, vibrant, muscle mass, everything. Because we've exercised every day now. I used to not share this. I got to provide context so this doesn't come off as pretentious. Emilia and I started a little fitness challenge called NLU Fit Pick Challenge, and she has a company called Evolve Ventures, so it's Team Evolve Moves, and we started it together, and it was to see if I could beat my 4-month record of daily exercise. It was just half an hour. Soccer counts, basketball counts, walking our dog counts, weight training counts, all that stuff. And so we are proud to say we're coming up on 1,000 days, so we're over 2.5 years now. And now we do 45 minutes a day, actually, which is alarmingly challenging. It doesn't sound like much, but when you do it every day, it's actually alarmingly difficult when you have a business and a house and pets. And we don't even have children yet, so it's going to be even more difficult by a significant margin when we do. But ultimately, my point is I looked back at those photos and videos, and I was in such better shape. Now, when I say I've let it go, I don't mean I stopped putting effort. And here's a simple lesson, but the plants you stop watering will die. It's fitness, finance, family, and fun. So if you stop watering those 4 plants, they will die. And for me, fitness, I still watered it. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, mobility, breathwork, supplementation. I'm an engineer, so everything's a formula. I got focused on business, man. And I've exercised every day, literally, since March 1st of 2022. Hey, Siri, how many days has it been since March 1st of 2022? 72 days. So I have exercised every day for 972 days, and still I am in worse shape than I was back in my fitness modeling days. However, back then, my whole world was fitness, man. My business was fitness. I was single, and I didn't have a household or pets or anything. And now I'm a business coach. So I used to be a fitness coach in shape, and now I'm a business coach kind of in shape.
Oh, you just reprioritized, which is what happens, right? When we create, it sounds like, as you said, from single to having a new, very important relationship, to, if you count the business relationship, because the business changed, right? And then also you have your romantic relationship with your girlfriend. So you've created 2 new, very important relationships in your life. And so, yeah, naturally, you reprioritized your fitness. It's still there. You're still exercising every day for 45 minutes, but it's not your fitness peak that you had from some time ago. So I think that's a very natural transition, very understandable. And you wouldn't be able to, you had to sacrifice the fitness a little bit so that you could develop those relationships.
Mike, I haven't given up yet. When I was a little kid, 2004, I saw Brad Pitt and Troy, and I said, when I'm 42, because he was 42 in that movie. I said, when I'm 42, that's what I'm doing. And I'm really weird for anyone watching or listening. Like, I saw the vision. I'm like, I'm going to beat that. And I haven't given up. I think I have 6 years. I have 6 years. I'm going to be 36 in November. And I talked to Emilia about this yesterday because that was alarming. I said it was really hard for me to see my old self and see how in shape I was. As a matter of fact, that's part of why I watched Legend of Tarzan, because that dude in that film, talk about a physique to aspire to, right? So I'm not okay with giving up on doing my best. To me, bettering my best is everything to me. And the only thing I look back on where I didn't better my best is fitness. And it's unacceptable. And so for me, I'm going to do everything I can. And again, I'm older. I'm a natural athlete, right? So I'm not doing any steroids or anything like that. And I never did back then either. And so it's going to be harder because I'm going to have kids and a family, and I have a household. I have 3 businesses. I have an 18-person team. So it's going to be harder. However, I'm still shooting for it, man. I'm still shooting for it. I want to get back and see if I can better my old best. And I have some serious work to do because I set the bar very high.
So what are you going to do to get yourself back there? What are the
Okay, well,
steps you have?
all right. So I'll take you through the formula that I have. It's a pyramid. And back when I was a fitness coach, it was what I took people through. So the bottom is sleep. So last night I had an 83 sleep score. I have an Aura ring that tracks my sleep. So I got to get my sleep on point. My sleep's been pretty on point on it. You have an Aura as well? Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Unbelievable. Game-changing technology. Game-changing. Huge fan. I actually
83 is a great score.
what'd you say?
83 is a great sleep score. I
It
love it.
is. It's not bad. My average right now, I think, is 84, something like that. She's been getting in the 90s, which is awesome. I got her an Aura 4, the Gen 4 for our anniversary.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
curious to
she's
hear what's the
pumped.
difference.
I am too. Actually, we just got it, so I can't tell you yet. But she's been talking about it for a long time, and I knew she wouldn't get it for herself, so I got it for her. But anyways, so uh, sleep bottom. That one's pretty good. I'd give myself a 9 on that one out of 10. Hydration is number 2, so you'll never catch me without a water bottle. For those on video, my water bottle is right here. But I honestly, I haven't been doing as good a job as I could. 2, a dramatic drink of water. Sleep, hydration, nutrition. So this, listen, I've exercised for 972 days, but that does not mean I've been dieting. I love food, man. I love it. I love it. We climbed a mountain yesterday, and full disclosure, villainize me for this if you want. We got KFC on the way home, and we ordered enough food for an entire family, and there's only 2 of us. I love food. Now, I don't always do that. Normally, it's much healthier. Like, we're not ordering KFC regularly. But I'm not going to lie, I love food, and it's one of my things. Food and movies are my jams. Those are my favorites. So I gotta dial that in. And I also fast throughout the day. So I do 16-hour fast every day, and that's not what's best for bodybuilding. So I try to do protein. So I do a protein shake in the morning and a protein Pop-Tart every morning. And then I eat a little bit before the gym, a little pre-workout meal, and then I eat a huge meal in the evening. Huge. Love it. That's my thing, but most of that's for productivity for business, not necessarily for fitness. Whereas back with the fitness days, I was eating, meals all throughout the day to build muscle. So I gotta dial in my diet. I know that. Boom. Mostly macros. So to me, it's macros, micros, and calories. I just need to make sure I'm in the right surplus or deficit depending on muscle building or cut. Right now I'm about 188, and I'm gonna build to about 195, and then I'm gonna cut to 185. And the other piece of this too is when you get older, and this is alarming. This has been alarming for me because I used to joke and I used to say I'm hoping to hit puberty by 36. I can't say that anymore because I've been growing this beard. So apparently I have hit puberty, which is good news, but I look very young. Disappointed with the aging process. This is alarming. Like, building muscle is not what it used to be. And I'm not one for excuses, but this is a different game. And I realize some of that is stress and business ownership. And as far as business, I say this to Kev because Kev's a bodybuilder too. I say, well, I'm in shape for business owners. Line me up against fitness models, maybe not, but for business owners, I'm top 1%. He said, good for you. But he and I are bodybuilders, and he's not at his best either. I mean, him and I were magazine worthy back in the day. Sleep, hydration, nutrition. Nutrition's the one that has taken the biggest hit. Training, I need to train differently, and I know that. We do every other day weights, but sometimes it's two-thirds walking. Like, we walk our dog. I sprints on Sunday, so I'm still getting after it, but I'm not as much of a sicko as I once was, and I need to get back to the fundamentals. I need to squat. I got to get rid of these kettlebells, and I'm not trying to remember. I don't want to sound too hardcore for anyone. Whatever level you're doing, exercising consistently is baseline. Okay. And I've been doing that. So that's great. But after that, you really got to start dialing in your training. All right. So sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, mobility. So the training, I talked to Emilia about this last night. I need to start training heavy. I need to lift heavy weights, and I need breaks between sets because her and I have been doing HIIT training so much. And yeah, I'm in great. I mean, my aura basically says that I'm 7 years. My cardio is a 29-year-old instead of a 36-year-old, which is good. My resting heart rate is like a 41, something crazy when I'm sleeping. But my cardio is easy. Like, we did monadnock yesterday, and I didn't find that difficult at all. But weight training has always been hard for me. It's hard for me to build muscle. I'm one of those tall, lanky folks. I got these giraffe legs going. All right, sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility. Mobility, like I said, I did it for 8 months straight, every single day, 10 minutes a day, and it fell off recently. I have something called my Big Five to Thrive. I switched it to text, WhatsApp, email, DMs, and social media. It used to have mobility on there. Exercise was on there too. I still exercise every day, but it's not one of my Big Five to Thrive musts. So I need to do mobility, which started this morning. So you can tell that I'm in it, right? So that I did it this morning. Breath work and supplementation. So supplementation, I only do two. I do a multivitamin, which I'm not even convinced does anything. And then I also do creatine. So I do know creatine is good. So I do create. So there's creatine in this, actually, in this water, monohydrate. And then I do caffeine, stimulant, which is not great for hormones if you overdo it. I've definitely been overdoing it. And then breath work. I don't do breath work. I should. I've done it before. I love it. Breath work's the best thing ever. And so the 4 things that you really need to sustain peak performance is number 1 is gratitude. You need a gratitude practice. Number 2, you have to exercise daily. It doesn't mean you have to go crazy, but you got to exercise every day, as that might sound. Number 3, sleep. You got to sleep. People, I'm telling you, I coach 26 people. We have all peak performance track, and we have habits and metrics. I'm telling you, the people who get the best sleep are the most dialed in every time. And you will age way better. And to me, I'm not even aging that well. I would like to age better, but I'm aging a lot better than some of my peers. And again, you can research longevity. This is all very well researched. And the last one's mindfulness. I feel like lately I've been so business and revenue and team and leadership and training and coaching, podcasting. I feel like I don't have as much mindfulness. And that's why the ROMWOD, the mindfulness long form stretching, I need to find a way to create the time to do that, because it's the best. I mean, there's a great music in the background. It's long form stretching. There's a voice that guides you through the meditative part of it. And there's breath work involved too. So it's the perfect program. I just have to get back to doing it consistently.
Is that like a commercial product that people can buy?
Yeah, there's an app. It's called ROMWOD, ROMWOD. And there's a free trial you can do with the 7-day program. And the one that I'm doing is a 7-day cycle. There's 7 sessions, and it starts you off small and it goes through the entire body, and there's breath work for the last couple of days. So it's really, really good. I adore it, and it's been super helpful. And then I add a little bit of foam rolling onto that. But again, like I said, I did it for 8 months, and I just fell off, and I just haven't gotten back on. And that's the problem too. So hard to be consistent at 50 things. You got to pick a couple things that you never miss and just stick to them. That's why I created the Big 5 to Thrive concept, because any more than 5, you're just going to have things fall. You need the 5 musts that you pick that you never miss. And for me, one of mine is exercise, that I've been able to sustain, fortunately, for 972 days. And that's great. That's good. I'm very proud of that. That's amazing. But it's not enough to be at the level I was at before, when my whole world was fitness.
Tell me about the Big 5 to Thrive. Where did that come from? What was your idea behind
So we
that?
had something way back called the Next Level 9. And we have an app called Optimal. It's not available right now because we actually stopped paying for it, because we had 22 departments. 2022 was a big year. A lot of people did very well. We did too. We had 22 departments, and Kevin and I sat down and said, listen, all right, our overhead got too crazy. We have too many team members. Payroll is insane. We need to figure out so we asked ourselves 2 simple questions. And for the entrepreneurs out there, ask these questions. What are the departments that we will go out of business without? And we only got 8. Out of the 22 departments, we only put 8 on there. And so right now we're running with 11 departments, and we have 18 people, and we have directors for each department. They're kind of like their own little business units that run themselves, and they all feed each other. And we can talk about that if you want. But ultimately, the Big 5 to Thrive, we used to have something called Next Level 9. And Next Level 9 was 3 habits under health, 3 habits under wealth, 3 habits under love. And we used to do it in tandem with our app. We had an app called Optimal, where it was a habit tracker. And now I use Google Sheets with all my clients for habit tracking. Eventually, we're going to do Optimal again, but to rebuild it, it's lots of money and all that. And we got to focus on the departments that make money. Otherwise, we'd go out of business. Okay. So to Thrive, I realized Next Level 9 was too much. When you've been habit tracking for almost 10 years, so for me, I started habit tracking in these little tiny black notebooks. I actually have them behind me. Oh, nope, I have them over there. And there's a bunch of them. And I used to, in mechanical pencil, erase each day and then check them off. And I had like 18 habits, foam rolling and exercise and meditation and all this stuff. And then I eventually did habit tracking in Google Sheets. And then I eventually did that for team members. And I did that for clients. And now we do that in group coaching. And there's dashboards now. And now we run our whole company through that. But ultimately, next level 9 was too much. People couldn't do it. And we were naive because Kevin started habit tracking 6 years ago, and now he has 6, 7, 8 metrics and 22 habits, and he does it every day. It doesn't mean he gets 100%. He's not doing 22 habits a day, but trigger behavior reward, he has 22 triggers per day, and I have, I think, 18 right now. But ultimately, next level 9 was too much. So the big 5 to thrive, that's the origin story of that. And I said, you know what? It's catchy. It's big enough to where it could actually move the needle for someone, but it's not so big that they can't sustain it. So I created Big 5 to Thrive. And in 2024, January 1st, I said, I'm going to do Big 5 to Thrive every day. Now, here's the thing. It has evolved. The concept didn't, but what I put on my Big 5 did. And so I always have 5 things that are non-negotiables, and it can evolve. But I had to switch it to texts, WhatsApp, email, DMs, and social media because I just realized that in order to basically, you might as well call that sales, building relationships, building community, talking to people, making sure people have the right links, invites, book club, all this stuff. And my Big 5 to Thrive before, I liked it a lot better. I'm probably going to switch it back, honestly, because it had the stuff for me. Because when I overly started focusing on the business and I switched my Big 5 to Thrive to that, I started getting lost in social media land a little bit. And I started neglecting myself. That's why I don't have my mindfulness, my ROMWAD, that kind of stuff. So Big 5 to Thrive, though, for your listeners, for anyone watching or listening to this, what are the 5 things? You cannot put an hour-long thing on this. Trust me, I did 20 minutes of WhatsApp, 20 minutes. My whole thing took me an hour, 2 hours once. Sustaining that was ridiculous. I remember writing for 30 minutes a day was on there, and I was writing, nodding off at night. It was awful. Okay, so be careful. I want 5 small things that make your world go round. So, for example, we have something called the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that has gratitude. It has your most important tasks, most important win, most important improvement. It has a next level lesson, and then it's got a little prompt on the right. So my Dreamliner from today, that would be one example of one Big 5 to Thrive. But it can't take 30 minutes. You can't have 5 30-minute things. Trust me, you will burn to the ground, and housework still needs to get done. Someone still needs to take the trash out. You still need to run your business, clients, calendar, dentist, whatever you do, right? So what are 5 small things that make your world go round that you're never going to miss? No matter what happens, I don't care if it's Christmas morning or it's Labor Day weekend, you don't miss these 5 little things that really keep you sane and keep you grounded. Guys probably should be on there, some form of a journaling, maybe it's meditation, some form of a gratitude probably should be on there. Maybe that's journaling or meditation too. But ultimately, 5 small things that really would make your whole world work better.
So these are daily actions that you must do. So like for someone, it might be walking, or like you mentioned, drinking that protein shake in the morning, or gratitude, or saying good morning to your loved one. Those 5 things, and they can be really simple. It sounds like.
Yeah, they should be. Kevin wanted me to rename it Next Level 5 to Thrive. But ultimately, it has to be, and this is, I just realized, it needs to be the 5 things help you be at your best. And I think that's why mine's not working anymore, is because those aren't the 5 things that help me be at my best. In order for me to pour into you,
focus on sales.
Yeah, it's not just
But
sales.
where's you?
I know. Yeah, it was a mistake. I shouldn't have switched it. I'm trying to batch texts, WhatsApp, email, DMs, and social media every single day. But the more I batch them, the more it comes in. which I'm grateful for, by the way. As a business owner, I need to make this clear. I'm grateful for the demand. I remember when it was crickets, so I'm grateful. However, that's a good way to burn to the ground. Is what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to switch it back to the next level 5 to thrive is 5 things that help you stay your best.
What are you going to do for your next? What are you going to switch it back to, Alan?
Yeah, so I'm going to put the Dreamliner on it because I've been doing that again lately, and it's awesome. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. These are on Amazon, by the way. But I'm also going to put ROMWAD back on it, which is my mobility playlist. Now that's a big one because the longest one is 20 minutes. The shortest one I think is 17. So that's a big one. This one's like 10 minutes a day, not even. Exercise is going to be on it because I'm already doing that anyway with Emilia, so that counts. And that's 45 minutes now, which is ridiculously difficult to sustain. 2 more. It probably would be batch WhatsApp, and instead of batch, because that implies I do all of it. So our company, we use WhatsApp for community building. We've got communities in there, book club and all that. So and my clients are all in there too. So that's where I run my coaching practice. So probably 20 minutes WhatsApp per day, because if I do any more than 20 minutes, I'm not going to be able to sustain this. And then the last one, not been doing that I feel like I need to do to be at my best, that really gets me. My day is set up in thirds. The first third is for me. The second third is for service. The third third is for fitness, food, and family. But lately it's been wake up and go. And there hasn't been a lot of morning routine. And I used to be really world class with my morning routine. I used to be on it. And then business got overwhelming, demand got high, payroll got high, and it was kind of like grind. And I'm pouring. This is the metaphor. I told Emilia this a couple weeks ago. I said, I told Kev this too. I feel like I help other people work on their life more than I work on my own. And that's just not, I get so frustrated and kind of pissed off a little bit. And so I'm just mad at me underneath all of it. And so I really want to learn again. I used to wake up in the morning and learn. I would take a course. I actually listened to books, and I have a book club, so I listen to books still, but it's when I have time, not first thing in the morning, pour into me before I go pour into everyone else. And so I think I want, maybe I'm going to do my protein shake, my Pop-Tart while learning. First thing in the morning, probably 20 minutes learning would be on there.
Protein and pour into me.
Yeah.
Is your
thanks for helping me read this.
time.
I actually already intended, I swear to you, on my most important tasks, one of mine was set up a new Big 5 to thrive. So thank you. I just checked off a box right here live. That's a good habit stack right there.
In action.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Change it on my whiteboard though, because now that's bothering me. I have a star on my whiteboard with all 5 of them. It says B5 TT, Big 5 to thrive, and it's got text, WhatsApp, email, DMs, and social media, and it's got a cycle, like arrows from one to the other. And that hasn't worked since I designed it. Let's be honest. It's just not aligned.
What I like about your new Big 5 to thrive is that it focuses on you, right? So every one of them is pouring into you. Yep. Your early morning protein and learning time, that's fulfilling your fitness, but also, as you said, you want to learn. And then the Dreamliner, tell me a little more about that. You talk about your dreams and goals, or what's in the Dreamliner?
Dreamliner is, so I had a blog called The Next Level Blog for a while. As I told you, I wrote every day for 8 months. It's on my LinkedIn. So anyone can see it. I've got, I think, 20 pretty intense articles on there. But one of them is called Dreamlining. It's called Streamline Your Dreams. And I named it Dreamlining. And if you Google it, it'll be there next to a bunch of cruises and airplanes. So now we changed it to Next Level Dreamliner, so you can actually search it. But ultimately, there's a mountain here and there's a star at the top, and that's kind of the metaphor of your dream. And what it does is it takes your 10 plus year goals, dreams, breaks them down into annual goals, and then breaks that into quarterly milestones, and then it breaks that into inch pebbles, which is your daily habits. And so your habits lead to your milestones lead to your goals lead to your dreams. It's what I do with all my clients. And so in Q4, the annual goal is the same as the quarterly milestone because it's the last quarter. So we have 65 days as of today left in Q4. And everything's numbers to me, so I'm kind of a nutcase with that. But ultimately, this journal helps you set that all up and then stay on track. And I wanted a journal, and I told Kev this too, because I had the High Performance Planner by Brendan Burchard a long time ago. And it's nothing against Brendan because I actually, I'm a big fan. I admire a lot of his work. But this planner, I can't reassess my existence every day, right? It's too thick. It's too much. It takes too long. So I said, Kev, we need to create one that's actually sustainable. We need to create one that doesn't take more than 10 minutes. Out of 50 questions, there's only one question per day. Like today's question was, what is the most important thing that you did or could do for yourself today? And I wrote clean up and shave, which I obviously didn't do. And also ROMWAD and learning. So go figure. That's what I wrote. But it takes 10 minutes a day and it keeps you on track. And it keeps you intentional. That's really what it does. It keeps you consistent and intentional towards your goals and dreams.
So it's a different question every day that you would answer within that 10 minutes.
Well, so the left side is your top 3 gratitudes, top 3 most important tasks. We call them MITs. Then it's your most important win for the day or yesterday. So for me, I put Emilia and I had the most magnificent 5-year anniversary ever. Most important improvement, the way Emilia and I share our life on social media needs to improve forever. That's what I wrote because we need to do a better job in terms of our brand. And then next level lesson, which is just anything you learned. What did you learn? So I do mine in the morning, so I'm doing this for the previous day. If you journal at night, it would be for the day of. And then there's, did you check off your habits? Which I did check. And that's because I have it in Google Sheets, like I told you. And then on the right page, it's just a blank page. So on the right page, it's a blank page with a question at the top. You can actually see that. That's my bad. But yeah, so there's a question at the top. So here's one I just opened to a random page. What seeds are you planting for a more fruitful future? Simple. And I've personally vetted all of the questions. Cool.
So cool. Each spread is one day.
Yes. It's the thing is achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. So it's a 90-day Dreamliner. So it has 90 days worth. And we have soft cover and hard cover. I like the hard cover a lot. We have 3 different colors. We have dark blue, light blue, and then black. But the hard cover takes like 2 weeks. So you gotta order it 2 weeks in advance before Q1 of next year starts. And you don't have to do it quarter to quarter. I just like to.
It's organized. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's move on to our next bucket of F, which is family. So tell me, what are your family goals? What's the most fun that you've had when you spend time with family?
Yesterday in general, I think was the best. Maybe one of the best days I've ever had in my entire life, actually, which is wild to say. I got Emilia the new Remarkable. Have you ever heard of Remarkable?
Isn't that notebook and you write on it, but it's also electronic?
Yeah. It's really, really, and again, I don't work with them, so like I'm not getting paid for this. It's amazing. It's really good. As a matter of fact, before the Dreamliner, I used to have one. But then when I got the Dreamliner, this is better in my opinion. But of course I would think that. So I got her the new color Remarkable for our anniversary. And she loved it. So I came in the morning and I gave it to her. And then yesterday we went on an adventure. So we took the Tesla to Mount Monadnock, about an hour and a half north. We got it charged. She got a new jacket. And we just had this awesome adventure. And we do. Have you ever seen the movie Arthur the King with Mark Wahlberg? It's a dog movie, but there's something called adventure racing. Really cool. So they do this like 110-mile adventure race in Costa Rica. We playfully joke that we're adventure racers, and really what we do is we hike, and we've hiked 7 mountains, and we've done tons of other hikes that weren't mountains. But ultimately, we're pretty intense hikers at this stage, and we did what was supposed to be a 2-hour hike yesterday in like 37 minutes. Intense, and it was good cardio, and it was great. But that was awesome. So that was an adventure. And then the view at the top was amazing. I actually posted on my Instagram story the view. It was great. And then we came home. We spent time with our pets. So we have three is what I call them. So we have two cats and a dog. We have Bush Tucker Wolf Tucker. We've got Madame Tauriel de Fari Tauriel. Internet might be unstable. I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you hear me? You there? Damn. One more time. Third time's the charm.
Yes.
Mike, can you hear me?
Okay, so we were talking about some of the best quality time that you spent with your family, and you said one of your best days ever was yesterday. The last thing I heard was, uh, you went hiking, and you had really intense hiking with great cardio. You posted on Instagram, and then you were telling me about your pets.
Oh yeah. The pets. By the way, are you going to be able to edit all this?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure it'll work.
You're going to make it work.
We'll make it work.
All
Yeah,
right,
why not?
appreciate it. Okay, yeah, because it's going to be tough for your listeners if it keeps going in and out. But hey, we fail forward, take messy action. Okay, so where was I? Sorry, my internet keeps going out. That is
Oh, no
new.
problem. You're talking about your pets, the T3.
Got it. The T3. Okay, so my pets T3. Yeah, so they have these long kind of creative names. Bush Tucker Wolf is my dog, Tucker. Madame Tauriel de Fari is Tauriel, my cat. And then we have Tiger Nala Lily. So Tiger Lily. And we call her Tilly for short. So Tucker Tilly Tau is what we call them. And last night we just spent time with us by the fire. Emilia got me this new projector, and in our condo we have this big wall where the projector, it's like a movie theater. It's so cool. And so we ate KFC, full disclosure, and hung out with our pets and watched an entire movie that I thought was fun and inspiring. And then we did some housework and different things that we needed to set up the week. But it was the best day ever. It was just really, really good. And yeah, so that's what do we do for fun? We adventure. We love hiking. She loves nature. I love fitness. She also loves fitness, just not as much. And I love nature, just not as much. So we combine them, we integrate them. And we both love inspiring films, particularly ones with fitness and nature in them. And yeah, so that's what we do for fun. I guess that's the answer.
So what are your goals? What do you see like moving forward? Like family? Do you have like you want to take some kind of trip together? Like what do you see that you want to do in your family that you not haven't done?
I'm always, as a public figure, and I hope that doesn't come off as pretentious, I'm always wondering, what do I want to share? What do I want to keep personal? And it's nothing against you. I'm grateful to be here. That's not what I'm saying. I always never know the answer. And I sit there and I go, you know what? It takes courage to share who you are. It does. It takes a lot of courage because that puts it out there for anyone to criticize. So, and I'm grateful to be here, and I want to have courage. So we are visioneers. We engineer our future. We don't do anything by accident. We're intentional about everything. And so, yeah, we have an entire 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year plan. The shortest possible answer is we're going to keep building our company. We're going to keep building ourselves, building our family, and building our businesses. That's the short answer. As for what we want in terms of, like, eventually we would like an estate with a lot of land. We're going to have 3 properties. One's going to be probably northeast. I'm in Massachusetts now, so maybe that area. And then one's going to be abroad. And then we're probably going to do one lake/mountain and then one probably oceanfront. We'll see. But again, this is, way out. And then we're definitely going to have children. We're already talking about trying to be better parents and conscious parents. And again, I think the reason it takes courage is because we're so weird. We have it all mapped out, all of it. And people say things, well, what if you can't have kids? Listen, we can pivot and adapt along the way, but I think most people don't actually think enough about the future. I don't think they plan. People say, well, why aren't you guys married? We're intending. Don't worry, right? It's all part of the plan. We've already talked about it. So to me, we play the long game. Her and I are kind of these esoteric weirdos who are always playing the long game. And we've always cared more about the future than about just every tiny little moment. Now, it doesn't mean we don't cherish the moment, okay? There's a balance there, but people say, well, just be present in the moment. I think that's terrible advice. And the reason why is because if you don't design your future, it's probably going to suck. Learn from the past, enjoy the present, and build toward a bigger, better, brighter future. But if you're just winging it, shooting an arrow up in the air, hoping it lands someplace nice, it might not. It probably won't, actually. And so my answer to that is we have specific dreams, specific goals, specific milestones. We have certain metrics that we track on our whiteboard at the center of our home. And we have 3 businesses between the 2 of us. And we're builders. We build ourselves. We build the family. We build the businesses. We build the teams, and we build the brands too. Because Emilia and I are both personal brands, but we also have our company brands as well. And to me, we're here to maximize our own unique potential. And yeah, we're not here to hang out. We're here to build. We're builders.
When you say you have a plan for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, without going like into detail, but just as a high level, how do you think about those milestones?
Yeah, great questions. This has been awesome. So when I first met Emilia, she was scared to share her goals with me. And before I met Emilia, I vowed to be single until I met someone with larger goals and dreams than I had. And Kevin even said, he said, who has bigger goals and dreams than you? He didn't even believe that was going to exist, playfully, tongue in cheek. And I said, there's got to be someone. And I found her. Her goals and dreams were a hell of a lot bigger than mine. And she was so scared to share them because most people make fun of her and me. And by the way, for the esoteric weirdo goal dream people, like I'm working on living to 120. I know that sounds insane, but longevity wise, that's actually going to be doable by the time. And you can research longevity, by the way. So the average is 78 for females, 74 for men. There's a lot of research going on, and people are screen printing organs. There's a lot going on in the longevity world. So it's going to be doable regardless of how crazy I sound. So don't freak out. But it doesn't mean I guarantee it. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just preparing today for longevity. My girlfriend has a longevity index with all these metrics. And so we're getting good sleep, and we're hydrating well, and we're trying to take care of ourselves all the time. So that said, how do we think about it? We reverse engineer it high level all the way down to the day to day. So the best way to unpack this, and we did it all on the whiteboard, is results goals, growth goals, business goals, and then there's like bucket list stuff. So, and then you just kind of break it down. Okay, so what's a good example? So right now we're in this is so, takes so much courage to share. Okay, so right now we're in essentially a $500,000 home. We have, our car, and we have our 3 businesses. And between the 3 businesses, I think we're looking at maybe 750 on the high end, 650 on the low end. And that's not terrible, but it's not great. And it depends, right? For a podcast, that's unbelievable. It's unheard of. For a business, it's, Amazon makes more in a day than we do all year, right? So we're thinking like that. And so ultimately we think in terms of the compound effect, and we think in terms of growth and scale more than we do about stuff and things. So let's say the estate. So we already think, so the next home we already know is going to be around the 750 mark. It's going to be somewhere warmer because Emilia doesn't like the winter, and it's going to have its own movie theater. It's going to have a home gym, and it's going to have land where we don't see our neighbors, right? So it's that kind of thing. There are some specifics, but for the most part, you're going to fill in that stuff. Like, it needs to have good internet. There's a couple musts. So it has to have good internet. It has to have land. It has to have a movie theater and a home gym, and it has to have skylights and cathedral ceilings. Emilia adores that. And everything else can be kind of, I also told her it has to be built this century. I'm not buying an old fixer-upper. I'm not a project guy. I don't know how to plumb. Like, I'm a business owner, and I build businesses and people. I'm not doing the plumbing. Okay. Now, again, I know that sounds arrogant. Her dad knows how to do a lot of that, and he's helping me this weekend, actually. But the point is, there's a couple musts that need to happen. And then we have the big dream of eventually we're going to have a sailboat. She did D1 sailing at Providence College, so she's a sailor. And that's going to be a large sailboat. And we're going to have, the 3 home thing. And so high level, it's vision, which is more images and pictures. And then you got to get into sort of the details as you get closer and closer to the now. And then you need metrics. And metrics is the part that most people miss, like square footage. price point. Someone said, oh, I'm going to buy a 50 acre land and it's going to be here and all this stuff. And I said, okay, what's that going to cost you per month? And they had never thought about it. It's like, well, how much do you need to make in order to have enough cash to put it down payment and then get the mortgage? And then how much is the mortgage going to cost you? And then how much do you make per month above that? Because it's going to be utility. Here's the thing. When you up level your lifestyle, everything is more money. The Tesla is awesome, but it's more money and more insurance. And it's everything's like that. When you up level your business, now you have more costs, right? 18-person team. That's great. Up level, but you better be making enough to pay for that. And so I don't think people think properly in the yin and yang. They think about what they want. They don't think about what comes with it. And if you don't have what comes with it dialed in, you're never going to get what you want. Or you're going to get what you want, freak out, and then go back to old world because you didn't think about it. I have one client who wouldn't mind me sharing this anonymously. She got a promotion and she went and bought her dream car, and it was a Jeep, and now it's $1,200 payment, not including insurance. And she is like, I can't believe I did that. I shouldn't have done that. And the truth is, you shouldn't have. That was a mistake. You need to be careful, because it's easier to spend money than it is to earn money. And you have to be very careful to make sure your lifestyle always is below the level of your impact and your profitability. And that's a really important entrepreneurial lesson that we've all learned the hard way, huh?
Before we get to fun, I am curious, because you mentioned before and you said you could go into a little more detail. How is the business structured so you have all the departments, and the departments have directors and they support each other. So my question is, like, how do you align their incentives with your business goals?
Great. Love this. This is awesome. No wonder why Kev spent 3 hours with you. Appreciate you. Okay, so we have something called a GIP score. Kevin thinks my naming sucks, but I'm an engineer. So it's growth, impact, profitability, and it has all 11 departments. So we have 22 departments, but 11 of them are in coast mode. And so they're kind of back burner. We have them hidden in Google Sheets, and we do this metric. So every other week, we have a team huddle with the core NLU team, which is the directors of the company, which they each run their own departments. Some of them run up to 3 departments. Some of them run just 1. A good example would be Brandon runs book club. Okay, so book club is 1 department out of the 11 that has its own sort of SOP, standard operating procedure. So we do a book club every week, Saturdays, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. We just finished a book called Identity Shift. We have 2 chapters left with Anthony Trucks, one of my buddies. And it's all about identity, and it's next level books with next level people is the slogan, but ultimately it's self-improvement books in a community that we talk about the books, and we do the exercises in them. It's pretty cool. But we've been doing that every week for about 3.5 years, almost 4 years now. 3.7 years, I think, is the exact number. And we have metrics for book club. So Brandon and I have a bi-weekly department meeting where him and I go through the metrics. Okay, here's how many books we read. We've read 18 books. Here's how many people have registered, and here's how many people are in the WhatsApp group, and here's how many people have attended. So our average attendees, I think, is 13 people right now across all 3.5 years, but then we hide everything except for this quarter. So I try to break everything down into quarters. And then we have a green, yellow, red approach, where are we green and growing? Are we yellow and coasting? Or are we red and dying for each department? And then after that department meeting, we do a most important win, most important improvement that gets put into the GIP score, the growth, impact, profitability score. And then that's what we go over on the team huddle with everybody. So the team huddle with everybody has every department has a 0 to 10 scale. We either go up, down, or coast. And then the date, we do it every other week. And then that has the most important win, most important improvement from the department meeting. And whether we go up or down is based on the metrics in that department. And so each department has 3 main metrics that we track with the department head. And then the most important win, most important improvement from that department meeting gets brought up on the team huddle, which is an hour long with everybody. And that's the chance for people to cross-pollinate ideas. So if this is working really well in monthly meetups, and this is working really well in products, and this is working really well on the podcast, maybe we can implement that in book club. And if this is working really good in book club, maybe we can do that in podcasts. podcasts is one of the departments, and NLU and PGU are in there. And I'm going to be starting Business Growth University as well. But anyways, so, and then also, where are we losing? So what are the departments that aren't winning and why? And if this isn't working here, maybe we need to tweak that and adjust. So which departments need attention? And so what we made the mistake of is we grew too fast. I sort of built this $1 billion org structure that could scale to eventually billion, because I'm too long term. Kevin's short term, I'm long term, so we balance each other out very nicely. His job is keep us in business today. My job is to visioneer the business of the future. And we obviously both do both. He's what I call productively paranoid. He's always worrying about going out of business, luckily, because he's always asking, like, what if it rains? What if it snows? What if that doesn't, do you think that, are we spending too much? What's the deal? And then I'm always thinking about the future. And then we kind of switched, because as I've gotten more mature, I've gotten less optimistic. And as he started to believe in himself more, he's actually become more optimistic. So now I'm the one going, dude, I don't think this is going to work. I'm the paranoid one. And now he's the optimist, which has been weird. As we've both matured, we've kind of come to center in that. But ultimately, we have a bi-weekly department meeting with each department head. And then we have a bi-weekly team huddle in between those, where we all get on the same page about all the departments. That way, each department head, director, knows how their department feeds the business, which feeds the mission. Because it's hard to see how one book club member, okay, so let me give you an example. One of my clients, her name's Brenda. She's from New Zealand. She runs her own company. She does home staging. She's awesome. Wonderful human. She heard Kevin on a podcast similar to this. She found Next Level University. She came to book club. She signed up from book club to group coaching. She loved group coaching. She did a free call with me, and then she ended up a client. She's been a client for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe, something like that. So, but here's the thing. If Kevin didn't go on that podcast, I wouldn't know Brenda from New Zealand, right? And she's one of my closest. I mean, I love Brenda. So the problem with people in online space with businesses is I don't think they understand how much free value needs to be given before they can succeed at paid value. It's branding, marketing, sales. Branding is who you are and what you are when no one's watching. Marketing is who's the person you're talking to, what's the messenger, you, and then what's the message, and then what are the channels in which you're connecting. So Zoom, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, or X or whatever. I don't have either. And then sales is meaningful conversations with qualified warm leads, which is people, really what that means is people who actually need what you have. And those are meaningful conversations that you're having: texts, WhatsApp, email, DMs, social media. And so a lot of people are really good at social media, which is the top of the business model, or really good at business. Very few people are good at both.
Okay, let's move on to the fun bucket. So what do you do for fun? Like, what's the most fun? I know you had a big anniversary yesterday, but we heard about that. What else do you do that's just for fun?
Just for fun. One thing I will share is when I got in that car accident at 26 and I kind of leaned into my passion and my purpose after that. It was about 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. I do want to say that prior to 26, I think I was overly focused on fun. I definitely was. And I often joke, I have enough fun for 12 lifetimes, being playful. But I think fun is a byproduct of my life now. I don't think it's anything that I'm focused on necessarily, and that'll be clear. And so when I said earlier I haven't taken a full day off in 10 years, that doesn't mean I work every day, all day. It means I work every day. So for example, my anniversary yesterday, 5-year anniversary, I woke up and did a 90-minute jam session first thing, and so did she, so that we could get stuff done, so that we could go free ourselves and go enjoy the day. And then I actually did some work in the Tesla while she was coat shopping. But ultimately, I've never taken a full day off for 10 years. And I know that sounds crazy to most people, and that's okay. You don't have to design your life the way that I do. However, if you do want the results that I have, you might have to design your life at least closer to what I do. And Kevin and I need to be very clear about that, because people always say, well, how do we do what you did? And Kevin's like, listen, you don't want to do what we did. I mean, trust me, he hasn't. He's taken one trip in 7, 8 years. He went to Scotland, one trip. And we've taken some trips too, but we worked during them and whatever. So fun is not a focus. I need to make that clear. Okay. Now, that said, I still have a ton of fun. So for me, what I adore is I love going to the movies. So, for example, when Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park movie came out, they did a 30-year anniversary in 3D. I thought that was freaking awesome. So I went to that. Uh, we just got a new projector, like I mentioned, so I'm super pumped about that. Food, adventure, hiking, fitness, film, those to me are the most fun. And
What's an
honestly,
adventure?
go ahead.
Oh, what's an adventure?
Hiking.
How do you create an adventure?
Hiking. Yeah, so we have a app called All Trails, and I do got to go in actually 1 minute, unfortunately, but there's an app called All Trails. Not 1 minute, I'm sorry, 4 minutes. I got 4 minutes. There's an app called All Trails that talks about all the best hikes, and it's a crowdsourced app. It's pretty famous, so it's hers, not mine, but we use that. So I literally looked up for our anniversary what are the best hikes in New Hampshire because we live in Mass and I knew it was close. I did Vermont first, and then I was like, no, 3 hours not going to work. So Mount Monadnock is one of the best rated hikes on all trails in all of New Hampshire. It was a 4.6 out of 5, which is really good for all trails because it's very crowdsourced. It's kind of like IMDb for movies. It's movie buffs rating movies instead of just um, non-film lovers. So that's what we consider adventure is what's the best nature hikes. If it involves nature and fitness, Emilia and I are just going to adore it. And the truth is what I do for fun is spend time with Emilia. We have a freaking blast together to an extent where when I was in my mid 20s, if I had seen us and heard some of the stuff we share on our Conscious Couples podcast, I would have thought it was full of it probably because I didn't believe this even existed. I always knew the dreams and goals were doable. I always believed in, business and science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, finance. Like I knew robots were coming. I knew we were going to have self-driving cars. I knew, and again, knew is probably sounding arrogant, but science and all that stuff always made sense. Relationships, I never thought in a million years this would happen. Genuinely. Like Kevin always says, how did you know all this would happen with NLU? I said, brother, we kind of designed it. So, he's like, I didn't know it was going to happen. It's like, well, you didn't design it, right? So I'm not trying to be mean. He co-designed it, but he didn't design it. With Emilia, this is beyond what I ever thought was even possible, genuinely. So people used to say, oh, she's my everything or he's my everything. And I used to think that was crap. But now she's my business partner. She's my intimate partner. She's my best friend. She's my gym partner. She's my roommate. She's my everything. And it really is beyond what I ever thought was possible, genuinely. And so she's the most fun person in the entire world. And I hang out with mostly her. I mean, we see her family and my family every now and then, but for the most part, we build ourselves, build businesses, build clients, build dreams, and help others do the same. But we spend a lot of time together, her and I.
It's been the best investment. This is a lightning round, so real fast. Best investment you've ever made for your financial health.
There's a course online called Insane Productivity by Darren Hardy. And I've taken it 50 times and I bought it. It was expensive. I don't know if it's still super expensive. It might only, I think I bought it for like $2,500 or something. And Darren, again, he can be brash at times, but he walks his talk. He leads by example. And as far as I'd say, he's on the upper end of leading by example. That course is world class. It's world class. It's unbelievable. Best investment I've ever made probably is that course. It's called Insane Productivity. And I don't get paid saying that, by the way. I know of Darren, but I've never met him personally.
It's been your best investment for fitness.
Best investment for fitness. You got to go creatine monohydrate on that. Either that or a foam roller. Yeah, foam roller.
What do you get out of a foam roller?
Pliability. You'll just stay injury free. My back was giving me problems for a while, and foam rolling literally just it's a game changer. Yeah, foam rolling.
Best investment for family.
This home, it's so amazing. We live in a beautiful condo complex, and the landscaping and everything's taken care of. And again, we pay for that. HOA fees are a thing, and they're not cheap. but it's so nice to have it all taken care of because I'm not Mr. Homeowner, man. I'm not trying to, you know, as arrogant as this might sound, I built my first computer when I was 12. I'm a computer engineer. I know computers. I know the internet. I know technology. I've never been good at projects necessarily. I still do them, of course, right? My toilet broke. I had to fix it. But I love the fact that we live in a condo complex that's so beautiful where Emilia and I can focus on our businesses more.
Best investment for fun.
The Tesla, this car, it's her idea, Model Y. It's perfect. And again, I I don't sell Teslas. I've never even liked cars. I never even liked cars. This car is unbelievable. I can open it from my phone. It's so freaking nice. It can literally drive to me. It drove for me. It drove me to Mount Monadnock while I sat there and ate food. Like, and again, I'm being playful with that. I wasn't eating the whole time, and I was paying attention. It's called supervisor mode. You have to pay attention, but it really is amazing technology, and it's got tons of space. There's nothing superfluous. Picture the quality control of Apple when you buy a MacBook. It's like that, but in a car. It really is. I mean, it's the most successful car company in history for a reason. It's the best. It's amazing.
You're my business coach. What's the one thing I need to grow my podcast?
A congruent brand that you never steer away from. You need to core values. So for me, it's self-improvement, business, and leadership. And I never stray from those three. And if I do, the way I say it is Tesla should not sell energy drinks and Red Bull should not sell cars. You're going to be known for one main thing and you need to stick to it forever. And that's why you need to be doing the work, inner work, to figure out what your passion is. Because if it's not your actual core value or your actual passion, you'll never win the long game.
You're amazing, by the way. Who should I interview next?
Whoa. Michael Burt. I like his content a lot. Michael. It's spelt the opposite of most Michaels. It's spelt no. Maybe it's EAL. It's spelt the weird way. Is yours the regular one or the weird one? You don't know? Okay. He's a coach. He talks about prey drive and motivators and the 5 key ways to motivate yourself. I've met him in person. I saw him speak. He seems more genuine and he leads by example from what I can tell. And that's not the case in this industry, by the way. So I would say Michael Burt. Yeah. And he'd probably do it too.
I'll reach out to you. I'll send you an email. And where can people find you? People want to work with you, Alan. They're going to see this. They're going to say, Alan is amazing and Kevin is amazing. I've seen both of them on podcasts. How can they find you and work with you?
Okay. So we have a website called nextleveluniverse.com, spelled just like it sounds. The podcast is Next Level University. Next Level U, pun intended. You can Google my name. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can DM me. You can email me, alan@nextleveluniverse.com. And this is what I'll say to end with. If you are humble and grateful and you have work ethic and grit and you want to earn your way to success and fulfillment, you will love us and you will love what we do. If you are not humble, you are entitled and want big rewards for minimal effort, you're not going to like me. You're not going to like Kevin. You're not going to like Next Level University. So please don't reach out. And if you do reach out and you are humble and grateful and not entitled, I would adore working with you. And we have a whole bunch of free stuff. We also have paid stuff. And just reach out and please just provide context when you do, because obviously we all get a lot of spam.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing having you as a guest. I can't wait to talk to you again sometime.
Thank you, Michael. This was awesome. Thank you. And this is the longest interview I've ever done. So thank you for sticking with me, man. Yeah. Thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Thank you.